Today, I'm going to tell you how I went from being a lost teenager who was trying to figure out his path in life to become a full-time trader who eventually found financial independence and made over $2 million in a single year. I'm going to share 8 practical lessons that completely changed my approach to trading and allowed me to start making real money in the markets. Watch until the end because the last lesson is the most important one. Let's go back to the time right after I finished high school. My journey with trading or investing in general actually started on a bench outside my school. One day our computer science teacher came over and showed us a stock market simulation game that the school was running. Some of you might remember things like that from school. At that time, I didn't know anything about markets, but me and my friends decided to participate anyway. Why? Because it was about the stocks, about the US market, and most importantly about the money, and that sounded exciting. At the beginning, things actually went pretty well. I was trading on penny stock that allowed me to make decent returns even from very small price movements. When the price moved just a few cents, I could already see a good profit. Of course, everything good eventually comes to an end. I thought I had discovered the holy grail, and that from now on I would make unlimited money in the markets. But then came the losing streak, stop losses, bad decisions, and trying to make the money back, and suddenly everything started going the wrong way. At that time, I was honestly just a young guy trying to find his path. I started going to investing conferences and trading events, reading tons of books, and testing a huge number of strategies. You also have to remember that back then, the internet wasn't nearly as advanced as it is today, and obviously we didn't have AI tools that can speed up learning like we do now. But even though I was putting in a lot of effort, I was still losing money. I was spending entire days trying to become profitable, and it still wasn't working. A few years later, things started to change. I was older and I had a completely different perspective on life. I was starting a family and there were real responsibilities ahead of me. At that point, I had to make one of the hardest decisions of my life. I had to choose between safe 9-to-5 job or taking the risk and committing fully to trading, because standing with one foot in both worlds simply doesn't work. I had to decide whether I would go for stability or take the risk and fully focus on trading. As you probably guessed it, I chose the risk. Didn't find some magical strategy overnight, but over nearly 20 years in the markets, I built a system that allows me to trade profitable and consistently. Now I want to show you what exactly changed in my thinking. The first thing I understand is that trading is not easy. It's simple if everything is organized correctly from start to finish, but it's not easy because it requires energy, focus, commitment, time, and most important, the discipline to follow your own rules. That part sounds simple, but in real life, it's not easy at all. We all know how it works when we set goals in life and promise ourselves we will stay consistent, but every day, life quickly tests that discipline. Trading works exactly the same way. The second thing I realized is that everything in trading happens gradually. Think about it like going to gym. When you start working out, you are not immediately at the highest level. You build your strength step by step. You train, you practice, you adjust your routine. Maybe you consult with someone more experienced. Maybe you add certain elements or reduce the load when you feel exhausted. So you also need recovery and balance. If your goal is to run a marathon, your training will look different than if your goal is to build muscle. Trading is very similar. You learn it step by step, and you have to control the pressure, the impatience that tells you results should appear immediately. Today, many people want results right away, but just like in a gym, you won't see abs after a few workouts. It takes time and consistency. If you keep going long enough, there comes a moment when you suddenly realize you made your progress, even though you are not exactly sure when it happened. That's exactly how trading works. Another important thing is to forget the idea that you will suddenly quit your job and become a trader making huge money right away. It doesn't work like that. First, you need a strategy, and then you need to test it properly. Your testing period should last at least 1 full year so you can see how the strategy behaves in a different market condition throughout the year. Markets behave different in different sessions and cycles, so it's important to observe how your system performs over time. My own strategies have been tested for many years. I have statistics, data, and a full performance history, which allows me to trust them. If you want to see the strategy I personally use, you can find a free workshop webinar link in the description where everything is explained in more detail. The fourth thing I changed was how I spend my time learning and practicing. I didn't start with 12 hours a day in front of the charts. I started with 1 hour, then maybe an hour and a half, then 2 hours. The goal is not to destroy the rest of your life by spending all day trading. Plan your time properly and increase it gradually if needed. This approach helps you to stay organized, maintain support from the people around you, and avoid losing hours doing meaningless analysis. It's not true that spending more time automatically leads to faster results. Think about training again. Doing a 6-hour workout once a week won't give you results, but 1 hour every day will. The fifth lesson is financial stability. If trading is supposed to save you from debt or financial problems, it will almost always end badly. When there is a financial pressure, you will start making extremely risky decisions because you feel like you must make money immediately. From my experience working with thousands of traders, every time someone traded under financial pressure, the result was the same. The situation became worse. Trading under pressure turns into gambling. That's why you need stable finances before you seriously focus on trading. The sixth thing I had to understand was overtrading. At the beginning, I always wanted to be in a trade because if I had a position open, it felt like I had the opportunity to make money. I started forcing trades and stretching my own rules just to open position. In the end, that period of my life led to large losses. All the money I was earning from work or other projects was, disappearing in the market. Eventually, I realized something important. The number of trades doesn't matter. Quality matters. Good, well-planned decisions are much more important than, constant activity in the market. Another important element was having time away from trading. I wanted to develop other interests such as going to the gym, learning about the artificial intelligence, reading books, spending time with my family, maybe gaming, traveling, or anything else that brings balance in a life. I didn't want to build a life where I was, permanently tied to a screen watching charts all day. For me, one of the most important parts of my life is spending time with my children, watching them grow and teaching them how to see the world. Children often show us a completely different perspective, and being present for those moments more than staring at charts all day. The key point here is understanding that trading is only one part of life. Even if you lose money on a trade or make a large profit, it shouldn't destroy your emotion balance or affect the people around you. Over time, I learned not to carry trading emotion into my personal life. If I lose $5,000 in a trade, I simply accept it and move on instead of bringing that frustration into my family life. That kind of emotional balance comes from having other meaningful things in your life outside trading. And finally, there is the last lesson which may surprise you. The whole idea of quitting your job and trading full-time can actually be misleading. Many people imagine that full-time traders spend 8 hours, maybe 10 hours a day trading. The truth is that a professional trader with a solid system may only spend 1 or 2 hours a day on the markets. That's it. The rest of the day is completely free. And if that time is not filled with something meaningful, you will naturally go back to the charts and start forcing trades again. That leads to overtrading and eventually losses. That's why many successful traders build other projects, businesses, or interests outside of trading. Having something else to focus on keeps your mind balanced and prevents trading from becoming a unhealthy obsession. If you want to learn the strategy I personally use in my trading, check the link in the description where you can join the free workshop and see exactly how it works. And if you made it to the end of this video, leave a like and comment the word trading below. Okay, see you in the next one.